It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of April 15th, 1994. Six movies to look at, so we got a lot to look at, so let's just delve right on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Chevy Chase and Jack Palance starring in Cops and Robertsons. So something you have to keep in mind with this particular movie, it was actually released in, as I said, April 1994, but a few months before this, Chevy Chase had a late night show that you may or may not be familiar with. It was on Fox, and it literally ran for 5 weeks, even though Fox was hoping it would become the next Tonight Show, which it did not, and it basically took Fox out of the late night talk show thing altogether and kind of damaged Chevy Chase's career for a little bit. And I believe this actually was filmed before the Chevy Chase show came out. I don't know why it would have been after, because that was October 1993 and this came out in April, unless they really shot this quickly. I'm going to take a guess and just say that it came before the Chevy Chase show. And, yeah, needless to say, this is not one of Chevy Chase's best movies. This is actually probably one of his weaker films. I mean, he's basically trying to play a mixture of both Clark Griswold and also Fletch as well, kind of mixed in there in this particular role, playing the sidekick to Jack Palance's character. There's potential here. There are moments in here where there will be an occasional laugh or two, but it really wasn't that funny of a movie. It was a movie that was mostly forgettable. The laughs weren't really there. Those lame attempts at trying to do parodies of different things, like the taxi driver thing at the end of the trailer, like, Chevy Chase, you're better than this, man. Like, you can make much funnier material out of stuff like this besides this. But it just didn't work. It was a movie that came and went, and it just really wasn't that good of a movie. It was a movie that was quickly forgettable, had some potential there, but just never really did anything important. But at least for the director, Michael Ritchie, at least he made a better movie in 1994, but we'll get to that one a little bit later on. Cops and Robertsons definitely is not that one, so that's that movie. On to the next film, and that is Surviving the Game. So basically, this is just an adaptation of the short story "The Most Dangerous Game" by Richard Connell, and it had actually been done before this. There was an adaptation of the story in 1932. There was one in 45 called "A Game of Death," "Run for the Sun" in 56, "Bloodlust" in 61, "Confessions of a Psycho Cat," "The Woman Hunt," "Turkey Shoot," "Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity," "Deadly Prey," "Death Ring." Recently, we looked at it in Hard Target. Basically, you've pretty much seen the story done over and over again. And despite the good cast they have in here, and despite the talented direction of Ernest Dickerson, who just done Juice before, it just doesn't really have that spark to it. Ice-T, I think, has proven since this movie came out that he could be a decent actor, but him trying to be the next Schwarzenegger or Stallone or Van Damme, it just didn't work here. There was a really good cast in here, and there's a good idea to modernize the story for a new generation, but overall, it just didn't work out. It's a story that I think doesn't really have... Actually, I don't know if the story has ever been done well. I mean, I've heard The Hunt is actually pretty good. It's the most recent story that's been done based off of this, so I don't know for sure, but maybe that's the one that finally does it. But I feel like this story could be done a whole lot better with a good director and a good satirical element to it. But maybe films like The Hunt or even something like The Condemned do that. But I haven't seen those movies, so I can't really comment on them just yet. But at least here, at least with this movie, I don't think it worked out very well in the end. I think it's a movie that, again, had potential to it, has a good cast to work off of, but the script just wasn't there. It was a movie that just doesn't work as well as I think they wanted it to. So anyway, that's Surviving the Game. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is another Disney sequel in 94, White Fang 2, Myth of the White Wolf. You know, honestly, for a sequel that really didn't need to exist, this is actually pretty good. This is actually kind of an underrated sequel. I mean, it actually continues the story from the first movie pretty well. It comes up with a unique story that's very different from the first movie, and the acting overall is very good. I like the way that the animal actors too also are able to work very well here. I think I realized that that one of the people behind the scenes, Joe Camp, I believe it's Joe Camp who did the animal work on here. He also did the original Homeward Bound. I think he has does a pretty good job of letting the animals actually work very well on screen. I think they have good chemistry with the human actors in here, And there is actually a very good story to it. There's actually a really compelling story to tell. Once again, these mountain scenes, these snow scenes are just so beautiful to look at, and you're just along for the adventure. This is a good, fun Disney adventure movie, a good, fun classic Disney adventure film. And I mean, the first one's okay. I think this one actually kind of ups it a little bit. I think it really is an enjoyable sequel that is very underrated. I think it definitely should be given another chance to be seen by a lot of people, and really they should see it because it actually is. There is a lot more merit to it that I think a lot of people give it credit for. So definitely check it out. You might be surprised by it. So that's White Fang 2. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is John Waters' Serial Mom, starring Kathleen Turner. Overall, not an all-around winner, but honestly, the only reason you should see this movie is for the over-the-top chaotic performance of Kathleen Turner in this. I think this is actually one of her funnier performances. This is probably her best overall starring performance I've seen her in since Peggy Sue got married. And I guess maybe Who Framed Roger Rabbit if you want to throw that into the mix as well. But I think she really does carry the movie overall. I don't think the rest of the movie itself is that great. The jokes aren't really flying all that well. There isn't that same kind of spark and unique film style that John Waters usually brings to this. Like, you could definitely see it in his other movie, Cry Baby, which came out before this, which was another kind of mainstream movie. But as far as this movie is concerned, it doesn't. I feel like this is the most he was trying to go mainstream at, and I think it only works because of the scenes with Kathleen Turner in it. I think she really is the funniest thing about this movie. And whenever she's doing the jokes, they are usually very funny. I wish it could have been a little bit more funnier. I think you have a good cast here that could really make this stuff work. Sam Waterston, Ricky Lake. You see Matthew Lillard pre-screaming here. And you also got cameos by Patty Hearst, Suzanne Summers, Joan Rivers, Tracy Lords. There's potential there for something great. As it is, it's a decently made film. It could have been a whole lot better, but I mean, for what it is, it's fine for what it is. Definitely see this movie if you want to see a really good Kathleen Turner over-the-top performance, because this movie definitely features that, and it's very, very funny whenever she's on screen. So anyway, that's Serial Mom. On to the next movie, and that is Backbeat. Once again, another movie that has so much potential to it, and it just can't really deliver on it. I feel like there's a spark there that's missing in this particular film. But you can definitely see the effort there is there. There are people trying. I think Stephen Dorff as Stuart Sutcliffe is doing the best he can with this, and Ian Hart as John Lennon, I think again is also very good in here. There is a very good story to tell here. You get to see the story of the Beatles before they became the Beatles that we know of today, and there's a good story there, just not the right execution. It's a movie that I think really stumbles out of the gate. It really struggles to find a good common ground to actually tell the story that actually makes sense. The music overall, I think, is pretty good. I just wish the script had been a little more tighter. I think the script should have been a lot more interesting, but it's basically kind of the typical biography. Yeah. What do I want to say here? It basically goes with the typical music biopic formula storyline that we've seen done to death so many times, where it's one of those things where the performances are so good, but the rest of the story is just kind of mediocre because it's been done to death so many times. It feels like that kind of thing is happening here too. It feels like a movie that there's so much effort there that could have been, that is placed in here, but it just doesn't really have that spark that it needs to make it stand out on its own. It's a movie that feels mostly flat for the most part. There's not really a whole lot there to make it stand out. And that's kind of a bummer because there is so much potential there with the stuff that we see in this trailer. And the music overall is pretty good, but as it is, another missed opportunity. Another missed opportunity indeed. So that's Backbeat. Now let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is In Custody. I mean, basically, you get what you get here. It's a Merchant Ivory movie directed by Ismail Merchant. You're following a professor of Hindi at a local college, and his first love is the Urdu language, and in particular Urdu poetry. His multiple attempts to interview this great poet, Nur, it kind of acts as a metaphor for the clash between modernization and tradition, and I'm literally reading this off of Wikipedia because I have never seen the movie, so I can't really comment on it too much. I can just say that it exists. It came out on this weekend. It looks visually pleasing, so I don't know. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not so good. I can't really say for sure. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it. But came out this weekend, so in custody. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll take a look at the films of April 22nd, including Madeline Stone, Mary Stuart Masterson, Andie MacDowell, and Drew Barrymore in the Western Bad Girls. We also have The Inkwell. We also have Brain Scan, as well as Chasers. So 4 movies to look at next time around. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please look at the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.